Most people think forgiveness is something you do for the other person. I used to believe that too. My name is asterisk asterisk Hassan asterisk asterisk, and I'm asterisk asterisk 84 years old asterisk asterisk, and it took me more than half a lifetime to realize that forgiving one man didn't change him at all. It changed the way I understood my entire life. When you reach my age, memories don't arrive in order. They come the way old photographs fall from a worn-out box, one after another, each carrying a feeling you thought you buried long ago. The man I'm talking about was named Asterisk Yusuf, asterisk. He wasn't a stranger. In fact, for many years he was the closest friend I had. We grew up in the same dusty neighborhood streets, the kind where everyone knew each other's families, and every evening the smell of tea drifted out of open windows. Yusuf and I were boys together. We shared bicycles, secrets and dreams about the future. Back then the future looked enormous. We believed life would stretch forever in front of us. When we were young men, we even started a small business together. It wasn't much at the beginning, just a tiny shop with peeling paint and a wooden counter that creaked every time someone leaned on it, but we were proud of it. We worked long days, sometimes 14 hours, and at night we would sit outside the shop laughing about how one day we would make something big out of it. Those were good years. Honest years. But life has a strange way of testing the people you trust the most. One afternoon, when I was around 32, I discovered something that changed everything. Money from the business account had been disappearing slowly for months. At first I thought it was a mistake. Then I thought perhaps I had miscalculated something. But eventually the truth became impossible to ignore. Yusuf had been taking it. I remember the moment I confronted him. We were standing inside the shop, the same place where we had spent years building something together. The afternoon sun was coming through the dusty window, and I can still see the way the light fell across his face. He didn't deny it. He simply stood there quietly and said he needed the money. I don't remember everything that was said after that. Anger has a way of blurring details. What I do remember is the feeling in my chest, not just anger, but something heavier, a deep kind of disappointment that settles inside you like a stone. That day our friendship ended. The business collapsed soon after. I rebuilt my life slowly. I found other work, raised a family, and tried to move forward. On the outside, everything looked normal again, but inside me something stayed frozen. For years, whenever Yusuf's name came up in conversation, I felt that same tightness in my chest. I told myself I had moved on, but the truth is, I carried that resentment everywhere. It followed me quietly through the decades like a shadow. Resentment is a strange companion. It doesn't shout, it doesn't demand attention. It simply sits beside you, year after year, slowly shaping the way you see the world. And the strange thing is, the person you resent usually has no idea you're still carrying it. Decades passed. My children grew up. My hair turned gray. The world changed in ways we never imagined when we were young men standing in that little shop. Then one day, when I was already in my late 70s, I heard that Yusuf had become very ill. At first I ignored the news. I told myself it had nothing to do with me anymore. After all, nearly 45 years had passed since we last spoke. But that night I couldn't sleep. Something kept returning to my mind. Not the betrayal, not the anger, but the image of two boys riding bicycles down a narrow street, laughing about the future. Memory is a powerful thing when you grow old. It reminds you that every person in your life once existed in a different version of themselves. The next morning I made a decision that surprised even me. I went to see him. His house was smaller than I remembered. The walls were faded, and the garden looked tired. When his daughter opened the door and saw me standing there, she looked confused. She knew who I was, but I don't think she expected me. Yusuf was lying in a bed near the window. He looked fragile, much smaller than the man I remembered. Age had done what time always does. It had softened the sharp edges of everything. When he saw me, his eyes widened. For a moment neither of us spoke. 45 years of silence sat between us in that quiet room. Then he did something I didn't expect. He started crying. Not loudly, just quietly, the way an old man cries when he knows time has already taken most of what he once had. He tried to apologize, but the words were tangled and slow. Illness had weakened his voice. And in that moment, something strange happened inside me. The anger I had carried for nearly half a century suddenly felt very small. Standing there looking at him, I realized something I had never understood before. The man in that bed was not the same man who betrayed me all those years ago. Life had already punished him in ways I never could have imagined. I sat down beside him. I told him something simple. I told him I forgave him. The room became very quiet after that. I remember the sunlight coming through the window and the sound of birds outside in the garden. But the most surprising thing was the feeling inside my chest. For 45 years I believed forgiveness would be something difficult, something heavy. Instead, it felt like setting down a weight I didn't even realize I had been carrying. Yusuf passed away 2 weeks later. We never had another long conversation. There was no dramatic ending, no perfect resolution, just that quiet moment in a small room where two old men finally let go of something that had lasted far too long. After his funeral, I began thinking about my life in a different way. I started noticing how many years I had allowed resentment to shape my thoughts, how many moments I had spent replaying a wound that existed only in the past. When you are young, you believe time is endless. You think there will always be another chance to fix things later. But at 84, you understand something very clearly. Later arrives much faster than you expect. Forgiving Yusuf didn't erase what happened between us. It didn't rewrite the past or repair the years we lost. What it did was change the way I understood my own life. It showed me that holding on to pain doesn't protect you. It only keeps you tied to a moment that has already passed. Sometimes I wonder how different things might have been if I had forgiven him earlier. Perhaps we could have rebuilt our friendship. Perhaps not. But at my age, I've learned that life isn't about perfect endings. It's about the quiet decisions that shape the way we carry our memories. And if there is one thing I've learned after 84 years on this earth, it is this: the person you forgive may never know how much it matters. But the moment you finally let go, something inside you becomes lighter. And sometimes that small moment of peace changes the way you see your entire life.